Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf. Today we are watching what's going to be Rant of the Day Part 2. Sat most of the day in Zoom meetings that accomplished about that much for the many, many hours that we were on it. I'm going to say it didn't accomplish anything, but for the most part, got one thing done that should have taken 15, 20 minutes instead of 5 hours across multiple meetings. That's not the rant. The content of the conversations I had today, both offline and online, are what the rant today is about. And that is training. If you've been watching Wolf's Watch or been part of the conversation for any length of time, jiggling with the frame here so I can see comments when they come in. Anyway, the whole point is when you're doing training, it's not the same as education, and most training fails. And when I say most, I mean only about 95% of training efforts fail. And as a business owner, you're just pouring your money down the drain. Don't do it. Stop it. Unless you do this thing. Here's the problem. I was listening to more stories, not just one, but multiple stories today about business owners, business executives sending people to training. They come back and then they go, they're not doing anything with the training now that they're back at the job site. Now that they're back in their work environment, they're not doing anything with this expensive training that we sent them to. Well, like, no kidding. And you know whose fault that is? That's the business owner. That would be you. That is the business executive. That would be your staff, your direct reports. It's it's the fault of the leadership because training is not the same as education. Sending someone to a class, to a training event, and then having them come back, that's an education model. But go listen to this, come back, yeah, go do something with it. Wrong. Here's what you need to do. You need to be accepting the fact that training is going to be a 6 month long event, right? Yes, I said 6 months. It's going to be a 6 month long event because you have the training, the actual, okay, we're going to tell you what you need to do, then we're going to demonstrate what the new skill is. That's the first two parts of five that need to happen for effective adult training. Here's the difference between training and education. And this is why your training fails. Training is about acquiring a skill and then putting it to work so that you can achieve a business benefit. All right. Now, training people and just increasing their skill level definitely will give you a business benefit. It's a good principle to achieve the actual measurable benefits, see it in the financials or whatever other KPIs you're tracking. It's key performance indicators. Whatever KPIs you're tracking requires much, much more. So you do here's the new information on the skill. Let me show you how that new skill is used. Here's the third part. Here, in the training environment, let's do it together. We'll do it with you. We'll do some kind of a simulation, some type of an exercise, some type of a practice. We will plan how you're going to apply this when you get back to your job site. 5, now we are back in the job site, in the job environment, applying the newly acquired skill, which bad news for you as a business leader and for your team that reports to you, your key leaders in your company. That means you're going to be coaching them for several months on the application of the new skill. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be an expert in the skill itself. What you do need to be an expert in is what was your intention? What's the result that you want to get? How, here, let me do this. How, how you want them to apply it? What do you want to see them to do differently in the work environment? Not how to apply the skill. Let them do that. They've got the new skill. But be very, very clear on the what's that are included in it. And let's make that 3 what's, right? What's the new skill? What's the benefit that you expected? What's the new skill? What do you need them to achieve that's different from what they did before in terms of results? And that includes, from your standpoint, when you're coaching them, how does that change their performance evaluation? How is the new skill baked into their new performance evaluation? If nothing changes, why on earth would they do anything to risk their performance evaluation? And that's the key failure for almost all training. And like I said, it's only about 95% of training that fails in the corporate world. And I'm saying that based on having been involved in training in business since 1986. First training class that I ran personally was the day of the Challenger disaster. And I know that because no one showed up for the training class that my colleague and I were running because we were doing it at an organization that was managing the communication there. And one of their team members was on the Challenger. That's a whole nother story for another day. But that was my start of my journey in training. So I've seen it fail and fail and fail, except where did those 5 things, right? Toyota is brilliant at that, where they will bring people into a training environment and do just-in-time training, just like they do just-in-time production. They'll go, okay, here's part 1 of the skill you need. We'll do it. We'll demonstrate it. We'll practice it in some form in a classroom environment. Now we'll go out in the work area and apply it and come back in and do an outbrief of what happened when you applied it, then go on to the next module in the training. Consider that. And then they do a week-long test of applying it in the work, what they've learned in the workplace. So are you doing that? How do what is it that you want to change? How do you reinforce the change? So here's the bad news. Your training's failing. You're not getting the results you want. And it's you. Sorry. Can't say it any more softer than that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's the real problem. Let me give you this. You haven't been shown how to do it correctly, most likely. You're just doing what you've been shown and what we've all experienced, right? You've experienced education. I've experienced it. It doesn't work for what you need to achieve in your business. Not that education is bad. It's just, it's not training. When you need to install a new skill, a new piece of software, a process change, that is training. That is skill acquisition. So it needs to have a specific desired outcome, specifically defined skill that's taught, that's demonstrated in the classroom, that's practiced and planned, and then you get it out in the workplace that is applied and evaluated. And that's where you and your leadership team come in. You have to be prepared to coach them. If you have anybody approach you with a training proposition that does not include providing you with materials that you need to be effective at coaching, when your people come back from the training that they're going to be sitting in some classroom time somewhere. Even if I've done training out in production areas where there's still class time, even though it was in the production area, right? So there's when they come away from that part of it and they're unleashed back into, okay, go back to work now, do it differently based on what you just learned. That's where you need to have the coaching framework ready to go. And whoever is developing your training, whether it's someone in-house, whether it's acquired, whether it's a training organization that's bringing it in, if they don't have that, thank them, smile, thank them, and move on to the next organization, the next potential supplier for the training. Because all they're going to do is spend your money and walk away, and you're not going to get your result. And then they're going to go, well, we did what we were supposed to do as training. It's your people haven't done their part, or you haven't done your part. That's not it. This should be very much a partnership as well. But that's the key thing. How are you going to coach them? How are you going to reinforce the changes? How are you going to evaluate their application of the new skill? How does that get baked into their performance evaluations, right? Because you get what you measure. If you're not measuring it, you're never going to get that result. You're just wasting your money. Don't do it. Take your significant other out for dinner or have a team lunch Friday or something. Might be a good idea anyway, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. So that's today's rant. Training, do it right. It's a 6-month commitment, not a send them off in the classroom and have them come back. If one of your direct reports does that, sit them down and coach them. Develop them as leaders. That's part of what being a business owner is all about too, right? It's like, oh man, look, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it and everybody would be succeeding at it. Instead, very few do it and even fewer succeed at it. So that's one of the key, that's thousands of dollars in consulting and many years of painful lessons on my part to you right there for free. Thanks for being part of Wolf's Watch. This has been Business Rant of the Day, Part 2. Hope you're having an awesome summer. Thanks for being part of the conversation. I'm Wolf. This has been Wolf's Watch, and I look forward to seeing you on the trail.